Hello and welcome to Simuldub Saints, your guide to seasonal anime dubs. I'm your host, LaserKid, and with me as always is my trusty co-host.
Hello, I am Archangel, lover of cat girls.
You've been listening to our theme song, Wherever I Go, from front of the podcast, Ampren. Please check out their awesome music, link in the description.
And this episode is proudly sponsored by Komachi. More about them at the end.
Indeed. Before we jump into news, just want to apologize again for our slower than usual update schedule. My computer is taking way too long in the shop. I'm actually intend to go pester them here pretty soon. And Ark has been busy with this thing called work. You may have heard of it.
Yeah, adulting is very annoying. I do not, 0 out of 10, would not recommend.
They expect you to do work for money. I mean, God, who does that?
Well, I mean, money's all right. It can be exchanged for goods and services, you know.
Yes. But they expect you to work for it.
Yeah, I know.
What is this work on? We know we're a little slower, which is why the topic of this episode being, a bit of a sampler of what you should be watching. But before we get into that, we've got some news! And boy, what a news counter it is of, ups and downs over here. But the biggest up that I have ever reported in my entire time doing this podcast is that hell has frozen over and the One Piece dub has caught up to the Japanese sub as of March 18th, which is a little ways ahead of us still here, although by the time you're listening to this, that might be current or past. I don't know. I have no idea how the editing is going to go. None of us know. It's magic. But the anime itself resumes on April 6th after a 6-month hiatus that they've been doing a redo of Fishman Island because they got a little too close to the manga there. So the dub and sub are 1-to-1. When it comes back, are we going to get a simuldub? I can hope so. It doesn't say they are, but I mean, they caught up.
I apologize in advance, folks. If you think he's bad about Dragon Ball, he gets unbearable about One Piece. Oh my god.
You want to hear me talk about One Piece, you just got to watch Young and Faithful. Sketch and I talked about it for about 2 hours on a recent episode. Of course, we talked about 75 episodes, so, that'll do it. I do love my One Piece. It is true. Ark, as much as I do want you to give One Piece a serious try again at some point, I would not drag you into a Simuldub discussion of One Piece. There is no way I would drag anyone, least of all you, but anyone, through the over 1,000 episodes it would take to catch up to be able to talk about that. That's one where I bring on Sketch and be like, let's talk about One Piece. Or like we did with Kuro and Blue Exorcist.
Speaking of stuff that requires a huge time investment to get caught up.
Not really. Demon Slayer's not nearly that bad. Not even close, honestly.
Take the fucking segue.
I don't want a Segway. I want a Honda.
Okay, well.
I don't know why Honda, but,
they're not bad cars,
Yeah. Well, anyway, yes, the first of the trilogy of Demon Slayer Final Arc movies, the Infinity Castle movies, is coming out in the United States September 12th, among many other nations. As always, our news is linked, so you'll have information. It has all of the release dates for all of the various countries in there. But we're a United States-facing podcast. We're English-speaking. That's what we're reporting on. But there's a ton of countries and a ton of dates, ranging from July for the Japanese release all the way out into October. They are definitely releasing this internationally all over the place. It's going to be pretty cool. And after our up on our roller coaster, it's time to come down to earth because while Frieren Season 2 was previously announced for sometime in 2025, it's been bumped to be confirmed for January 2026. Sad to see it pushed out that far. It does seem more realistic. It makes me a little sad, but, these things happen. And we've got some other stuff coming, so, we'll always have good shit. But I guess it's going to be out there with Oshi No Ko, because that was also 2026.
Yep, but
so 2026 is going to be a year. Oh, yes. But coming back up, Windbreaker's coming back for season 2 on April 3rd, just next month. Excited for that. That is one of our from rags to riches stories because of the bad promo. But we love that show, so definitely excited to see that come back. And our last piece of news, coming off of the heels of episode 9, up ahead of episode 10, which is out right now as we record this, although we have not seen episode 10 because we tend to watch it on Fridays, a little bit after the fact, because we schedule our viewings. There's too much shit to watch, so we don't watch them as they come out, or we never have free time. So that is a poster, don't you think?
Yeah,
a little ominous, given recent revelations.
It's a heck of a movie poster
For the last 3 episodes of the show, which may as well be a movie, I suppose. Hopefully it has a better ending than the tale of perishing. But they're playing up that what if he does bad things there? What if something happens to Natsuko? Oh boy. Oh man, Zenshu has been a ride.
We're getting into causality and free will versus determinism and all that good shit.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Which brings us into our topic. We know we've been slow. We're sorry. We want to be able to do more. Shit has been wild for both of us. But to try and make up to you for this winter, with the last month ahead of us here, we're giving you not one show to talk about. We're doing 7. Technically more if you count some of our honorable mentions, but they're going to go by fast. 1 from both of us, and then 3 from each of us. Because what do you watch? Well, we know that the purpose of this podcast is to inform you all of what's out there. And we've been doing that on another episode. We told Kuro about this show, Zenshu, and I may have also posted social media saying if you only watch one show this season, make it Zenshu. Stand by that.
I agree.
But our first show that we're jointly recommending is indeed Zenshu.
And where do we start? And just to remind ourselves, okay, we're not recapping these whole shows. We don't have time.
No. We're not going to go into all the casts. We're not going to recap everything. There's too much to cover. But I think Sketch did the elevator pitch really well on our last episode, actually, which is about making our own Toonami with blackjack and hookers. So if you have not seen that, feel free to check that out. But Natsuko Hirose, a British animator with quite a bit of a personality, accidentally eats some poisoned clams and gets isekai'd into her favorite movie, A Tale of Perishing, a movie that was inspirational to her as an animator, but not really well liked by the public. Well, now she
describes it as the best movie you've never seen. So
we all have one of those. We all have one of those.
Cough, UHF, cough.
For me, it would be oh god, I'm trying to think of the Frisco Kid.
That's another one that comes to mind. Yes. So,
but we all have one.
Yeah. So just for that one, all I'm going to say, it's the Frisco Kid, Harrison Ford, and Gene Wilder. Go fucking watch
in a Western. And Gene Wilder's a rabbi in the Wild West. Harrison Ford's a bandit.
Yeah, just that's all you need to know is those 2 guys as the leads of the movie. Go watch it.
Indeed, UHF is great too. I love UHF. I own UHF on Laserdisc and DVD. Anyways, yeah, Natsuko's isekai'd into this fantasy world. Well, she has secretly a superpower. She can draw shit, and that shit becomes real. And we're changing the story. And that's kind of the premise. Because the situation's pretty dire. They're in the last town in the whole world. These things called voids are destroying everything. Unlike normal, we are not going through the whole cast.
It's very much an unexplained B-movie plot, deliberately so.
Yes. We don't have time to go through all the cast or any of these shows, but I figured top 2 picks, main 2 characters for any given show, although I've made a couple exceptions in a couple places. But this one, we've got Natsuko Hirose, voiced by Madeline Morris. That's Rudius Greyrat in Mashoko Tensei. And Elsa Stingham in Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf. That's the preacher lady in the last storyline in that season, which we actually talked about a while back with, again, Sketch and Kuro. It's almost like we have them on a lot. Almost like I'm on a podcast with them somewhere else. I don't know how I'd get a hold of them so easily. But yeah, and she does a fantastic job as Natsuko. Like,
who's a very complicated person.
At first, you want to smack her, but she earns you over, and I love it.
Well, and she's got definitely a huge arc going, is the thing.
Oh, absolutely, and they've absolutely played on her character arc very well. This whole story seems to be intended to benefit her character development, and it's great. I love it. And then, of course, the main fantasy character being Luke Braveheart, voiced by Ryan Negron. That's Keith Powell in Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, and Wolf in No Longer Allowed in Another World. Good lord,
the main character of this weird B movie, and his name kind of tells you everything you need to know about him.
Absolutely, the name is on the tin. The personality is on the name. Luke Braveheart's a great character. Again, a little more complicated than the movie version of the character. He is a person, and a real person. Like, he feels like a real guy. I love him.
Yeah. It's like, imagine your favorite movie, your favorite book or whatever, being sucked into it, and then all of a sudden you realize these people aren't just the events and the dialogue that you know them from. They are real, living, breathing people with opinions and feelings. And you have to deal with them as such. It would probably be very, very weird.
Very, very strange, but very... This show is top tier. Studio Mappa doing the animation. Doing a story about a lady who dies doing a work on animation. Ha 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 ha.
Right,
poor Studio Mappa. Yeah, poor Studio Mappa. These guys do great work, but oh my gosh. But yeah, if you only pick one, this is the one. We do have to throw some honorable mentions out real quick before we go into our individualized picks. And they're all three of them are honorable mentions because you already know about these shows. They're season 2 or higher. Being Apothecary Diaries, Solo Leveling, and Dr. Stone. Although I will shout out Dr. Stone's intro song because holy shit, that intro song is absolute fire and probably winning an award from us at the end of the season. Spoilers, but whatever. All three of those, you know what they are at this point. If you don't know Apothecary Diaries, we did an episode on it. If you don't know Soul Leveling, we did an episode on it. I don't think we've done an episode on Dr. Stone, but we've given it awards. And I have done episodes of Dr. Stone over on the Toonami Faithful podcast. So if you're not familiar with those, information's out there.
It would take too long to really get into it, I think is the reason.
No, we're not getting into these. And
no, but just in general, even like for a one-off episode, it would turn out to be like 3 hours long.
Oh yeah, so. And honestly, let's be real, you all know what those shows are. So Arc, I'm going to turn and give you your first pick. I kind of alternated for us in the doc, and I think it's a good way to follow it.
So LK got first pick, generally. So he took the real standout. So I decided to highlight a few others that I'm personally
enjoying. You if you wanted any of them, I'd switch with you.
It's fine. All right, so my first choice is possibly the greatest alchemist of all time, which is very light, sweet, fluffy trash.
It's good trash.
Yeah, I don't mean that as a pejorative, but it is what it is. It's one of these isekais where the main character is overpowered and so forth, but it's and has, a whole mess of ladies of various sorts and so forth, but it's your pretty standard thing. But the guy himself is very sweet, very down to earth, and treats everybody around him very, very well. And what makes it interesting for me is seeing that, as opposed to certain other shows which shall remain nameless, how you could do the whole isekai harem thing in a relatively tasteful way. It has its
particularly
moments.
Annoying slavery subplot, which
Right.
I don't think they say slavery, but the way they're treating it is not.
It's treated as indentured servitude, but
Yeah,
even in real life, the line between those two is incredibly vague. So
yeah, the show doesn't seem to know what it's doing with that trope. As per normal, I don't have a problem if it's used well. It's not used well here, but the rest of the show kind of makes up for it.
But it's not offensive, at least to me. It's more just like, okay, moving on type of use.
It's not. I'm not violently offended, but I want to bitch smack it for like, if you're going to use it that little, why did you use it? Because it doesn't actually use it that much.
I'm pretty sure it's because it's a trope and the author didn't think about it. Which, again, is not really a defense, but it's an explanation.
And again, I just want to smack the author for that. But I mean, if you can get past that,
we've had that conversation. So, and what's interesting is that he's been he wasn't supposed to be isekai'd. He was caught up as an innocent bystander in a summoning ritual to grab 3 kids for basically some bad actors. And so one of the goddesses of this world says, okay, I'm going to reincarnate you anyway, and I'm going to give you completely overpowered powers, and I'm going to drop you in a year before these guys get summoned. So she's basically, particularly since this is, the bad guys are essentially espousing a false religion. At least as far as I can tell, it's false. It might just become true in a bad way. But, anyway, so this goddess is like, okay, you're going to be heretics to me. She's like, it's the most playful and oblique way of throwing them an absolute nuke into their laps. And I love it.
Oh, it's great. Our main character is, of course, Takuma Iruma, voiced by Zach Loera. That's Ryo Ikaruga in Kaiju number 8, and Dogra Kret in Nina, the Starry Bride. Or, sorry, Dogra Kret. I can read, I swear. Relative newcomer, but damn good job as this character.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to just do lead 2, but there are so many sub-characters here. He has his whole harem. I didn't get his whole harem. I only got 3 of them, but we have the elf warrior lady, Sophia Sylphide, voiced by D. Mio. That's Shion Kaminari in VTuber Legend, How I Went Viral After Forgetting to Turn Off My Stream. And a lot of other bit parts that are not named. So, relative newcomer, she
brings a surprising level of complexity to what could very easily be a one-dimensional character, but actually isn't. And she does a great job of voicing her in a way that compels you to take her seriously.
Agreed. Then there's the more on the housekeeper side of the assistant, Maria, voiced by Monica Flatley. That's Rouge Red Star herself from Metallic Rouge. And Akari Minase in Kaiju number 8. Her being Rouge Red Star, I'm like, wow, that's some range, because this character Rouge Red Star, woo, very different characters.
This poor girl desperately needs therapy.
Yes.
And, everyone's treating her very well, but she has major self-esteem issues, and she's not quite right in the head because of being mistreated in the past. So.
I think you might be thinking of the lady with the alchemist skill.
Also, yes, but remember, Maria's the one who seems to have a fixation on comparing herself to garbage and other stuff.
Oh, that's true. You're right. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, we try to block
it out. That's not what I think about when I think of her. And then our last...
And then my MVP for the harem is Maple, voiced by Jessica Peterson. Also known as Celeste in My Unique Skill Makes Me OP Even at Level 1, and Yule Inoue.
Let me handle it, 'cause you're going to completely... Okay, it's Yoli Inoue.
Okay. In the Discotech dub of the Digimon movies.
So Discotech recently went and took the famous The Digimon movie, which is a compilation of 3 separate Digimon movies merged into one, released that movie remastered, and then also all 3 of those movies separately in Japanese and redubbed. This is not the classic Yoli voice actress from back in the day, but she does a good sound-alike.
Okay. And Maple is just adorable. So she's
Oh, yes.
a spider, becomes
Maple
a
was my
spider
initial
girl,
second
and
one.
yeah, she's just precious.
If I didn't do the other two girls, it would have just been Maple, but I'm like, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
do the other two girls. Like, this show, that's kind of the ensemble cast right there.
Yeah.
There are other parts of the ensemble cast, but I didn't want to go on forever.
There's a few others that come on later, but yeah, these are the three main ladies. And Maple's just basically like the family dog. She's, in terms of her personality, she's basically a golden retriever. She is so sweet.
And the golden retriever that ties you up in spider webs.
Yeah, well, I mean, if dogs had spinnerets, they'd do that. But
I suppose.
Anywho, but yeah, I'm arachnophobic, so if anyone heard Spider-Man switched off, the way she's portrayed does not trigger my arachnophobia at all.
Same. So. Well, it helps that she's top half a cute girl.
Well, later, but even in her first form, she's just more like a plush.
That's fair.
Than an actual spider. So.
Anywho, I suppose it's my turn to pick my first pick, which is the most non-shocking Laser Kid pick you've ever heard. Mm-hmm. The Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Yeah, I love this show. And the plot is on the tin. The Red Ranger goes up against the evil breakup king with his team. He's in a 5. Beats the supervillain.
Yeah, this is about as in your face about bonds and connections and relationship as Death fucking Stranding. If anyone's ever played that.
It's a Sentai.
Right.
And he falls to what should be his death, but instead he is isekai'd into McFantasy generic fantasy world. And he needs to find a way home, but there are other things afoot. Strange things are showing up. And he teams up with Idra Arvelin, who is a daughter of the previous head of the magic people, who was kicked out by being defeated. She wants to kind of earn her way back in and take the seat back, because she thinks the replacement is doing some of the bad, evil things that are happening in this world.
And having just met her, I can totally believe it.
I'm going to hold my tongue because I'm watching this one subbed and dubbed. Mm-hmm. But our main character, Togo Asagaki, also known as Kizuno Red, is voiced by Ethan Condon. That's pretty much just Jade Lordost, and I was reincarnated as 7th Prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. This was the main antagonist / victim, Jade being the victim, who was then possessed by a demon lord character. He voiced both. Goddamn. He takes to Kizuna Red, Togo Asagaki incredibly well. I said at the time it would take a lot to match Japanese voice because I watched a sub first. He does a damn good job.
And it's one of these things that the reason it works so well, it's much like Warhammer 40k in that the reason it works so well is that it's ridiculous, but it takes itself absolutely seriously, and therein lies the beauty of it.
It commits. The other thing I'd say is this writer knows both fantasy and Sentai super well. We haven't gotten there in the dub yet, but on the sub, the second and most recent episode as of this recording, because I haven't watched the most recent one yet, is effectively just a an episode of the fictional Kizuna 5 show that Togo was a part of. I mean, it's done in flashback. He's explaining some stuff that had happened, but you get there is a separate theme song for Kizuna 5 from Red Ranger Becomes Adventure in Another World, which has its own intro. I love it. I absolutely love that they went. They did not have to go that hard, but they went that hard. And of course, our second voice, our second character that we have a voice for is Idra Arvelin, voiced by Natalie Van Sistine. That's your Forger in Spy Family. and Star and Stripe in My Hero Academia. Fantastic choice. She amazing in this role. She really got it. She has to play the straight woman half the time, and she does a damn good job of it. Just like, why are there explosions?
Yeah,
why
how
is
are you
your
doing
guild
that?
card this way? How does this work? Why does this work?
Yeah,
Why are you
random
trying to blow
explosions?
everything up?
Yeah, stop destroying the monster ingredients we need to turn in for the quest with your stupid explosions.
Oh my god, it's a great time. The reason this was my top pick. If you only do one, do Zenshu. If you do two, this would be my second one I'd throw at you. But Ark, I think it's time for your second pick.
Okay. So my second pick is I left my A rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths, which is to date my favorite iteration of the key member of the party thrown out.
Banished from the Heroes Party kind of concept.
Yeah, and I have actually read, I don't think I've read all the novels, but I've read quite a bit of, and seen some of the anime of Banished from the Heroes Party, which is the second best in my opinion, and I think the original.
Banished from the Heroes Party is very good, and yeah, we watched both seasons of that, and
right.
I bought the books, and you read ahead of me, you jerk.
Well, so help yourself. But anyway, so basically, it's a pretty standard setup, except that this guy who's UK Feldio, Red Mage actually, he actually has a fucking spine and knows what he's worth, which just it seems like almost everybody else in this genre, if not everybody else, for the main character, just has just crippling self-esteem issues or is outright emotionally abused, and it was interesting once or twice, but I'm kind of sick of it. And so the show starts with him basically telling his idiot party off, and is I put it again, screw you guys, I'm going home.
I think I chose the wrong lady to capitalize on, but I mean, she works too, though.
I figured you chose her for a reason. We'll get to that.
Well, I chose someone for a reason, but I think I got the wrong person.
Okay, well, let's first of all, UK is voiced by Drew Breedlove, also known as Oliver Horn in Reign of the Seven Spellblades, and Meguru Bachira in Blue Lock.
Yep, he is our main character, a very good main character. Like, holy cow. We may as well go with her since she's here. But our second pick is Rain, voiced by Bryn April. I assume that's what the
I don't see how else we could have.
But that's Iko Koshikawa in Shy and Mimosa Vermilion in Black Clover. It looks like I was actually originally thinking of Marina, the redhead, who's voiced by Lindsay Seidel, because she's the one that recruits him. Right. And you may know her. I'm going to have to do this a little more on the fly here.
Well, while you look that up, I assumed you picked Rain because she is almost a carbon copy, character design-wise, of Roxy from Ashoko Tensei, which this guy is a total fanboy for. So
yeah,
aside from being
that
human,
wasn't why,
and
but I mean that works.
Yeah, I mean, I described her when we started watching the show as "quote unquote" young human Roxy, unquote. So, I think you're on the podcast.
You may know Lindsay as Puchita from Chainsaw Man, the actual animal that creates Chainsaw Man, and Desumi Magahara from the other Sentai anime of recent years, Love After World Domination.
Okay, then.
So yeah, I'll have to send you a link on her, but she's the one that I was also thinking of. What I primarily thought of because of she's the one that actually goes and recruits him when he's down on his luck after he's like, yeah, no, screw you guys, I will do my own. I'm not gonna play begging with this shitty party.
Yep, and this guy, giving back to the community, one of the things he does apparently on a regular basis is train newbie adventurers for the guild. And so this group of 3 young ladies apparently got together, at least, I don't know if they were together before they were trained together by him or not, but and so she basically starts catching up with her old teacher, and then when she realizes he's available, she basically kidnaps him.
And that's why I wanted to go with her. But I confused who was who, and yeah. But there's the trio of them. The other one being Silk, the Dark Elf Ranger, who I will shout out as Marissa Duran. I'm not going to go into all of the roles because this is very much on the fly. But since we name dropped all of them, we might as well name drop all of them. And Marissa does a damn good job as Silk. Also, they're all very well done.
All right. So why don't you tell us about another total out of left field hit of this season?
Yes. If you only do 3, this is my 3rd one. I'm going to stop doing that. But no, seriously, this is the other one I shouted out last week to Kuro specifically. And this is Amaku MD, Doctor Detective. Takao Amaku is this crazy, brilliant medical student. Well, not student, but she's a doctor. But she's the director of investigative pathology at the Tenikai General Hospital. And she basically does what she wants. She's kind of the Dr. House of this place. And like Dr. House, she has quite a personality. And Takao is voiced by Jacqueline Thomas, who you might recognize as Rain in Berserk of Gluttony, and several other more background parts. I'm amazed she's a relative newcomer, at least in terms of majorly named roles.
Absolutely killing it.
Oh, she's amazing. I love her as Takao. This is when we watched the sub first because we wanted to get a hold of kind of feel for all the shows. This is one of the ones I can't go ahead and sub because the dub is too good. And of course, there is her number 1 assistant, Yu Takanashi, voiced by Gerard Castor. And that is Flip Marteau in Wisteria Wand and Sword, and Richard Andrews in Reign of the Seven Spellblades. He is so much fun. He's smart like she is, but he also is somebody who basically he knows kung fu.
Yeah, he is quite literally her Watson. In that he's the relatively, the incredibly smart but still within the bounds of normalcy character. He's the one to trigger the exposition and so forth. And he's the one who bails the genius out when they get into trouble. Because Watson was always the one with the pistol who pulled Holmes' ass out of the fire. If you've ever read the stories. So.
Indeed. And those are definitely our main 2 characters. Now, there are several characters that are supporting. We'd be here all day. But I had to include one because we've shouted him out so many times, and that's Kimiyasu Sakurai, who is this police detective guy who is totally not Columbo.
He's literally Japanese Columbo. Yeah, the voice actor, Ben Bryant, Kanjuro, we know is Kanjuro in One Piece, or Vlad King in My Hero Academia. I'm pretty sure they just said, do your best Columbo impression. And he did. And it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, no. In both the Japanese and the English voices, they sound just like Columbo. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah,
and he looks like him, too.
Yeah, and he and Takao as the characters, and also Ben and Jacqueline as the voice actors, play off each other so well.
They really. This whole show is basically murder mystery of the show, but also medical mystery of the show. It's fantastic. Go watch it. I don't know what else to say.
And it is all grounded in real science, although there's some parts that quite deliberately fuck with you and make you think, what the hell is going on here, and then explain it.
So Ark, it's time for your 3rd pick that surprised the absolute crap out of me.
So that would be Dragon Ball Daima, which is, you've heard us and LK talk about it. It's basically the new, both a continuation and a partial reset in a sense, of Dragon Ball. And it's very much a return to Dragon Ball in the what I would call the better parts of DBZ, in terms of its form and so
It's
forth.
like pre-Z Dragon Ball, basically.
And the reason I wanted to shout it out here is because if you're like me and you have a passing familiarity with Dragon Ball, but particularly the later stuff just completely lost your interest, this is very much something you're going to want to come back for. So it's got my interest, let's put it that way. So it must be doing something really fucking right.
What I will say that Dragon Ball Diamond does really, really well is it intentionally, they've said they did this on purpose, borrows elements from all of the previous Dragon Ball shows. Dragon Ball Z, even GT, which you can feel like because they got the whole foreign world traveling, Goku's been wished to be young again. They borrowed the elements of GT that weren't terrible. And there's even a little bit of Z in there when we get towards the end. There's a big fight. Big fight's like, oh no, 2 episodes. I think you'll be okay. But I mean, you've even seen Goku versus the Tamagami. When they do the fights, they're pretty. They're very much Dragon Ball Z reminiscent fights.
There's actually
just
time
without
and
the
money
length.
There's actually time and money to do proper animation for once. Is the other thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And like Dragon Ball Super, this thing plays with the lore of Dragon Ball very, very well.
Yep. And yeah, you can tell it was done partly, first of all, by Akira Toriyama, but also by a whole team of people who are like LK and like half the people I know steeped in this stuff. So, it's good.
I do want to shout out the first of the 2 voice actors, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because we got a young Goku. They brought back Stephanie Nadolny, and I don't think, if you're not familiar with the anime industry as much, how big that is, because Stephanie has not done an anime voice role pretty much since Kid Goku in the early 2000s for the Dragon Ball dub. And of course she was Kid Gohan as well in the early Funimation Double C. There's some bad blood between her and Funimation as far as I know. I don't know the details, but they got her back anyway somehow. And for Dragon Ball Z Kai for Kid Gohan, they just used Colin Glickenbeard, who's the voice of Luffy. It works fine, but going back to the OG, man, it's so good to hear Stephanie back in the role, and she absolutely
even I can tell the
it.
difference.
Oh yeah, and she nails it. That is Kid Goku.
So she clearly hasn't lost a step since then.
Absolutely not. So welcome back, Stephanie Nadolny. We are so happy you're here.
And of course, the whole cast is here. We're not going to go through them, but one newcomer there's 2 newcomers in particular, but the one we're going to shout out, because he, at least so far, gets a little bit more screen time, is Glorio, voiced by Aaron Dismuke, also known as Alphonse Elric in the original Full Metal Alchemist, and Senku Ishigami in Dr. Stone. So get excited.
Get excited. Glorio is probably the standout new character in Daima, especially early on.
Which is the funny thing, because Glorio is very, stoic, laconic, and so forth. He's a complete contrast to Senku. So again, range.
Or Alphonse Elric, although he was a kid when he voiced Alphonse Elric, but still.
Emotionally, that again is a totally different pull from either of those other 2 characters. So,
indeed,
Aaron, you got chops, which I'm sure you already knew.
Indeed. Well, I suppose it's time for my last pick.
Okay.
And it's Magic Maker: How to Make Magic in Another World. Technically, this is an isekai, although the only part of it being an isekai that matters is the main character, Shion, has memories of a previous life where he wanted to use magic but couldn't. So now that he's in a fantasy world, isekai in, he wants to find magic.
Apparently he's the one idiot who literally believed the old trope of if you live to 30 years without getting any, you become a wizard. And when that didn't happen, he was actually he was actually legitimately disappointed. as far as I can tell, when that did not happen. So maybe somebody up there felt bad for him. So
it's a possibility. But reborn as a young noble named Shion. Shion's whole family is there trying to be, good family. Shion asks mom and dad, yeah, are there monsters? Oh, yeah, no, we've got monsters. We fight goblins and just asks all these fantasy tropes and then asks about magic. And they kind of look at him with their head tilted, what? There's not even a concept of magic in this world. They're not even that's kid stuff answer. More of a what are you going on about? But bolstered by his sister Marie and their friend, they look for magic and they find it and start experimenting on it and learning how to make magic happen. And shenanigans ensue. And I think that's about as much as I can really say.
Yeah, I'll just say that the magic system here appears, to my mind, quite original. So
yes, I would agree.
So it's very interesting.
Our main character Shion is voiced by Rowan Gilvey. That's Godot in Witch and the Beast, one of the main characters there. And Toba in Laid Back Camp. Probably means more to you, Ark, than it does to me.
That's the club advisor, Miss Toba.
Ah. And of course, Marie is voiced by Hannah Aliyah. Or Aliyah, I can't say names. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. Please don't kill me. I think you're right. And that's Miriam Berserk Gluttony and Ray Taylor in I'm in Love with the Villainous, the main character there. The titular lady in love with the villainous. And she's amazing as Marie. Very memorable work.
Brings that same adorably manic energy as she brought to Ray Ray.
Indeed.
Don't know Miria, so I can't speak to that. But
yeah, I have not seen Berserker Gluttony either, unfortunately. But that's a major show, so that's 7 shows and 3 shows you probably already knew. So that's a good chunk of shows that we can just say, yeah, go watch these. Probably would have done episodes on at least some of these if we were in better conditions than we've been in. So hopefully this kind of sort of makes up for that, gives you guys something to look at, something to try. Honestly, I think we probably should make this a mainstay going forward anyway, because it's a cool idea.
Probably. Yeah, and just to repeat some advice, because Kuro last episode was talking about her problem with what I would characterize as analysis paralysis, which is a thing a lot of people have to do.
It's a real problem with these streaming services.
So my advice is, aside from listening to summaries from us and anyone else you care to listen to, and there's lots of great people out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Just make a quick playlist on Crunchyroll of the things you think you might want to try, and then watch go into the first episode of each one with the attitude of, if this doesn't hook me within 10 minutes, I'm going to turn this off. And you can cover a lot of ground with that attitude.
Crunchyroll is pretty generous. It allows you to have 10, what they call crunchy lists. They are capped after a certain amount of items, but we're talking like in the 70s. Yeah, I actually have... This is how I keep track of what I'm interested in. But yes, it's more than you'll need for what we're talking about for sure.
There's also your general watch list.
Yes,
which I'm not sure how limited
that is. Infinite. That is infinite. You could put
and that's basically just it's like the watch later function in YouTube.
Yes,
which I actually
in the words of Castlevania,
extensive use of that. Yeah, I make extensive use of that one.
Oh yes. As do I. Crunchyroll is very versatile for that sort of thing. And HiDive also has playlist features, so there are ways to shorten your lists to see what's interesting.
Well, I mean, HiDive's UI is just...
Yeah, but it does have that functionality.
It does, technically, yes.
And we need to inform our listeners of what's out there. It's not just Crunchyroll.
Yeah, no, just... Oh, God.
Other places have similar functions. I'm sure Netflix does. I know Hulu does. Amazon Prime Video does. So there's options out there. And that is still one of the reasons we exist, is to highlight stuff, and this is kind of our season dump on things to highlight, although the season still has another month left. We might be able to do more. We'll see. But we wanted to at least give you a good chunk.
Yeah, well, see, these are the ones that would stand out to most people. Now, if you're into slice of life, there's a couple of good ones for that. There's lots of other good ones as well that we've all
there's
talked about in our preview episode
quite a bit
and so forth. So.
And we did do a seasonal overview at the beginning of the season of all of the stuff that's out there. And yeah, depending on what you're looking for, there's plenty of good stuff to watch. These are just the ones that we will personally really enjoyed.
Yeah, and aside from Zenshu, I don't think anything really surprised us in comparison to what we said in our preview this season. Right?
No, Zenshu's the one that blew up in my face. I went, whoa! There's a subtitle show that's doing that for me, but it's not dubbed. And that would be Promise of Wizard for anyone that cares, because that show surprised the hell out of me as well.
Okay. I don't know if it's new, but I've been watching the show about the Broadcasting Club. It's quite interesting. Although I see why they do
with that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's new or anything. It's on. I'm pretty sure it's on High Dive, and I think I see why they didn't dub it, because it's a lot.
High Dive's a lot more.
Let me talk. There's a lot of emphasis on poetry and intonation and so forth, and it would be an incredible amount of work to make that translate culturally. So I think it actually is probably, in this instance, better to watch the sub, because of the subject matter. But
I see. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a seasonal overview there for you. So, anywho, I think it's time for us to talk about a sponsor.
Indeed. So, today's sponsor is Komachi. Bring you all the love and joy from your childhood back to you. So this is a new age, and there is a new Komachi. But we're here to remind you that love and dreams are still real. Mixing the classic songs we all know and love with an all-new set of bangers, attending a Komachi concert should be on everybody's bucket list, no matter your age. We are Star T Rain.
Thank you, Komachi. We are indeed Star T Rain.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, Ark, where can the people find you?
Mostly in bed this week, honestly.
Oh, that is a mood. You can find me there too, actually.
Yeah, well, thankfully I'm not sick like you are, but
yeah, well, yeah.
Still
I'm not sure if it's sick or it's just the seasonal changes to saying, hi, sinuses. I like those sinuses. I'm going to take hold of it while the season changes. It's one or the other. I don't know which. NyQuil has been my best friend lately.
All right.
But yeah, as for me, you can find me on Twitter at LaserKidPrime. You can find me on Blue Sky at LaserKid. And you can find me over on the Toonami Faithful podcast. Over on several podcasting platforms, many of the same places you can find us, including YouTube, over on Toonami Faithful. So go check that out. Those are definitely a closely associated podcast. We're not technically the same group, but I mean, we're a lot of the same people are involved. I'm involved over there. A lot of those people are frequent guests over here. We're all good buddies.
Let's call it a sister podcast.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You can, as for the Simuldub Saints, you can find us here on YouTube. When my computer comes back, I will be doing a massive update over on Spotify podcast, but I'm not going to ask Mark to put together the audio podcast because that's a lot of cutting and pasting and audio editing, and I don't know if you even have a good audio editor, and Audacity does not count.
Then no.
Unless you want to mess with that, but I don't think you do. No. And we'll get there. We'll catch you Audacity guys up eventually when my computer's back. I'm so sorry that has taken way too long. I am about ready to go give them the repair guys a very strongly worded word of complaint in person. Probably tomorrow, actually.
All right, then.
Anywho, so you can find us there, and you can find us on social media on both Twitter and Blue Sky at Simuldub Saints. Well, that about does it for this week's episode of Simuldub Saints. Thank you all for putting up with the slower updates, but we are very grateful for your viewership, and we will see you guys next time.